Hey everybody, happy day 4. We are here for our 4th installment of our live video, so hopefully your week is going well so far. We've talked a lot about lots of different things this week so far, from mindset to nutrition. Yesterday we talked about exercise, and today I really want to talk with you guys about some of the other things that people often overlook that are factors in not only their weight loss progress, but getting started to begin with, moving past plateaus and all of that stuff as well. So I have 2 major factors that I want to discuss today, but it's not the only stuff either, so let's keep that in mind. So we know inherently that diet and exercise are important, right? We need to be eating well, we need to be exercising, and between the 2 of those things, we can be creating a calorie deficit so that our body is burning off excess body fat, right? That is science. That is how that has to work. But there are a lot of things that are happening to us day to day that can affect our ability to stay within the calorie goals that we set up, our ability to continue exercising and all of that. And that's from a mental perspective, mental and emotional, but also just from a logistical perspective as well. So the first big one is stress, right? We all have it. We are all familiar with it. But in a situation where you're trying to instill new habits into your routine, stress makes it very much harder to focus on the things that you need to be doing day to day. So meal prepping for yourself, taking time out to make sure that you're eating, making time for exercise, and all of these things. You tend to be more hyper-focused on the things that are stressing you out, and then the other things sort of fall by the wayside. And that may not happen all at once. Maybe you just sort of let go of little habits along the way until all of a sudden you're right back where you started. The other thing too with stress is stress hormonally can increase our cortisol hormone, which isn't inherently such a bad thing. It's a part of our emotional response and our body's physical response to stress, but it can actually enhance our hunger cravings there, which makes it more difficult, especially if you aren't planning, you're not making good decisions in advance because you're preoccupied with your stress. You're more likely to overeat. You're more likely to make decisions based on comfort instead of what's good for your bottom line. And there's so much more to unpack when it comes to stress. You know, in the program that I run, we talk about this on a regular basis. So that's just kind of the big aspects of that I see. And now the other big factor that affects weight loss that may or may not be happening to you right now, but will definitely happen in the future, guaranteed, is the idea of change and how things fluctuate as other parts of your life change, right? So just thinking about what we see here in New England, at least, with our seasonal changes, right? So the change in season, this time of year, it's light and bright at 6 a.m. The weather is getting warmer. You can easily get up and get out for a quick walk first thing in the morning. But come fall and winter, it's freezing and dark and not safe to go walk outside. And so, you know, little things need to change. And that's both logistic and your want and desire to get out of bed at 6 a.m. when it's pitch black outside, right? It seems easier to do when the sun is shining in your window at 6 a.m., right? So in the 12-week program, we also talk about things like, you know, vacation plans and travel and how that is going to shift your day-to-day routine, just even temporarily, or if it's something bigger, like if you're moving, you're changing jobs, maybe there's a new baby in the family, a family member passes, some other big things that really change the dynamic of your day-to-day routine can throw off how you're doing things now. And so if you feel like in the past you've been in a really good groove with losing weight and eating well, and you were really just doing it and it was just coming together for you, that's great. But if something changes and something has to shift and you're no longer able to keep to that same routine, you have to learn how to be flexible and how to adjust. And I'll give you an example. I'll tell you something that I was holding on to for a long time, a routine that I sort of had is expected for myself. So about, how long was that ago now? 15 years ago, I was living in a different town. I did not have a child yet. I was working at a different job, and my life was a lot different, okay? And so during that time, I was able to get up. I think it was was 7 o'clock, I used to wake up and I would go for a long, about hour walk with my dog first thing every morning before I would go to work, okay? And so for a long time, I held on to that ideal, like, oh, well, if I could just, walk the dog for an hour a day again, like everything would come together for me. And I know a lot of women have that sort of, if I could just thoughts going on in their head. But the reality is my life is not that way anymore. If I want to get up and walk the dog before anyone else is waking up now, that becomes like 5:30 a.m. and we know the sun's not shining quite that early anymore. And so logistically, it's not feasible to have that same habit. Time-wise, it's not feasible for me to take a full hour out for exercise on a daily basis either. And so if you're hanging on to things like that you have done in the past that worked really well for you, and you're feeling a little bit guilty about not being able to do that, just take the perspective that life changes and your plans have to change, and you need to be flexible and accountable for what situation you're in now, right? You have to focus on what is possible now and not fixate on what was possible way back when, right? So that's why having the support to move through all of these changes, these things that are often unexpected or unrealized in these cases too. I've had many women come to me in the past saying like, I did really well for a while. I'm not even really sure how I got off track, but now I'm exactly right back where I started. And so having that support behind you and having someone to recognize, what is happening and sort of showing you like, hey, things aren't going so well right now. Like what has changed? What is happening? How are we going to adjust that? That becomes such a vital part of your success. So if you're looking to lose a little bit more weight after these 5 days or keep your good habits going, having that support system in place can be really helpful here. So that's really where my program comes in. So I've been talking to you a little bit about it so far this week here in our lives. And I just want to share a little bit more with you about that. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow as well. But I do run a 12-week fully online program, and it's geared towards weight loss for women. Average goal and expectations for the program are about 15 to 20 pounds, but really we're focusing in on getting the sustainable habits in place so that even if you're not reaching 15 to 20 pounds by the end of the program, you're set up with the tools and all of the support necessary to continue that progress and eventually get to that ultimate goal as well, okay? So what we're doing there, we're navigating through all sorts of different things. We're doing very specific things like figuring out what your calorie deficit could be. We're planning for that. We're figuring out where exercise fits into that. We're keeping an eye on things like stress and these logistical changes that we're talking about today, and we're planning ahead for those when we can, adjusting as necessary, and you've got that support system in place to bounce ideas off of and really make sure that you are focused in and making the most of any situation that you find yourself in, okay? So what I think is really cool too is all the women through my program learn the same basic core values. They're running through the same modules and all of that good stuff. We're all learning the same things in our live trainings, but everyone is utilizing that info differently. And so each and every woman that I have is doing completely different things in terms of what they're eating on a regular basis. What's really fun for me is like if I was blindfolded and I can only see a person's food logs and not their name, not know who it's for, I would still know who it is because I know what they're eating. I know what their eating habits are at this point, and it's that's kind of interesting for me. But really, everyone can take this stuff and make it fit and mold it into their specific life so that they're not doing completely different things than the family. They're not completely upheaving the family dynamic or cutting relationships with friends because they don't feel like they can go out to eat and anymore and all of that. And I've heard of a lot of women doing this and then feeling like they're very isolated, right? And then they're either not making new friends for this new life that they want to have, or they end up backtracking on the good habits that they built because it's not fitting in with their lifestyle. So it's very important that you make that stuff fit, and that is really a core value in my program as well. But I do want to invite you guys, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the program and how it operates and exactly what you're going to be getting if you sign up for that. I'm offering a free strategy call to anyone that is here in the group doing the challenge or not. Honestly, it's fine. Just to kind of get an idea of what your goals are, where you're struggling, see if the program could be a good fit for you. And we're offering a 25% off discount if you've done the challenge for this week as well. And that's going to be good through next Thursday. So make sure that you're booking your call sooner than later. Get on the calendar so that you can take advantage of this and see if it's a good fit for you, and we can go from there. So what I'll do is I'll post a link in the comments of this video. It's a link to my calendar, so you can go ahead and pick a time that works for you to just do a quick video call with me. Just chat about what's possible for you in the next few months, get clear on a plan of action for yourself, whether that's joining the program or not, and just see what potentially could come up from that. But just to wrap up for today, just remembering too that there are more factors here that affect our weight loss progress. So it's not just about diet and exercise. Stress, changes, logistics all have a lot to do with our trajectory for success, and all of these other little things that we don't expect to come up do come up, and we can plan for those as well. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We're going to wrap up here tomorrow at